I'd like to welcome all of you to our January 13th, 2022 council meeting. In the interest of time efficiency and ensuring that everyone who wishes to address the council is given the opportunity to do so, the following will apply to all comments made by the public. If you desire to be recognized by the chair, please fill out a request form and present it to the city clerk present in the council chambers. Each speaker shall be allotted 3 minutes to address the council, unless such time is extended by the mayor or by questions from council. Groups shall designate a spokesperson to avoid repetition of comments. Every effort will be made to avoid interrupting speakers. Thank you for participating in your city government, and we ask that you all please silence all electronic devices. With that, I call this meeting to order. Could you please stand for the invocation? I'd like to invite Pastor Delbert Rogers from Champion Baptist Church to come and lead us in our invocation. And please remain standing for the pledge upon the conclusion of the invocation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let's pray together. Heavenly Father, we do thank you for the opportunity that is ours to meet here tonight. We thank you, Lord, for another day to live and to serve you. And as we've met here tonight, we've met to invoke your blessing upon the proceedings. And so I pray that you would give us wisdom, give each council member and the mayor wisdom. I pray that we might be civil with each other, that we would be understanding. And I pray most of all that the Lord Jesus would have the preeminence in each of our lives. For we pray these things tonight in his name and for his sake. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Rogers. Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Mayor Blackwell.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Matheny.
Here.
Councilmember Urban.
Here.
Councilmember Askew.
Here.
Councilmember Trace.
Here.
First item on our agenda is a presentation by Donald Edwards and our city manager, Mr. Sturgeon, in recognition of Marilyn Deller's retirement. Will you please come forward?
Okay. Had the solid waste team behind me accompanying Ms. Deller. Tonight we are showing appreciation to an individual who has dedicated over 3 decades of her life to serving the public, to serving the citizens of St. Cloud, and simply being an amazing teammate and friend to her colleagues in the city. Originally from Michigan, Marilyn Deller has lived in the city for many years. Marilyn and her husband, Bill, bought their home together, raised their family, and are now loving the wonderful years of grandparenthood. Marilyn has always been a valued member of our community. Marilyn has been the go-to person to so many city departments for over 30 years. The Solid Waste Division has been especially fortunate to be able to lean on her vast working knowledge of the community and the Solid Waste Division. So Marilyn, we want to say thank you from our hearts for all of your dedication and express how happy we are for you and your family as you start your next chapter in life. We are looking forward to hearing the stories of your grandbabies, as well as the many memories you and Bill will make along all of your new travels. Again, from the city, we are very happy for you and wish you and your family all the very best. Tonight, we recognize Marilyn Deller for her many excellent years of service to the city of St. Cloud. It is our pleasure to present this watch as a gift.
Let's get a picture there. Where's Bill?
always want to
We have several presentations tonight, but before we begin with those, I'd like to allow our city manager to please give us an update on any corrections and deletions that need to be made to our agenda.
Thank you, Mayor. Council, the consent agenda, I'll be pulling item F Foxtrot to a later date. In addition to that, council action item number 1 will be continued to February 24th, 2022. That's all I have, Mayor.
So noted. Item number 1 under council action will be pulled and will be presented again February 24th. Is that correct? At this time, we'll have a presentation by United Arts of Central Florida. I'd like to recognize Jennifer Evans and Ivan Quintero. Come on forward.
Thank you. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and council members. Thank you for having us. Thank you, Mr. Burgess Sturgeon, for inviting us to be a part of your evening tonight. My father served on the City County Council in Indianapolis growing up for 20 years, so I know the sacrifices that you make, and I just thank you for your public service because it means a lot to all of us. I moved to Central Florida from South Carolina actually in June, and I'm so happy to be here because they're expecting about 2 inches of snow where I came from on Saturday, so hallelujah for that. I'm Jennifer Evans. I'm the president and CEO. We are the United Arts Council for Central Florida. Our mission is to enrich communities by investing in art, science, and history. And we were invited by Mr. Sturgeon because we wanted to make sure that as leaders in your community, and those of you that are here in the audience today, know us and see us as your neighbor, but also as a resource. I hope that you've heard of us before. You may see the Orlando Arts Magazine or Orlando at Play or other things in your life that involve the arts, but we want you to know that we are here as a resource. When you think about, let me move this, get the slide, next slide. When you think about our mission, the real engagement word is enrich. And enrich means a lot of things to a lot of people. To us, it means to enhance, to elevate, to cultivate, to empower, to develop, to upgrade, to expand, to collaborate. All of these words are things I think you do too in your work. And so we want to be your partners to help you achieve your goals as a community, to help your citizens thrive, to help your businesses thrive. We invest our resources in many ways. And when I say resources, it's our time, it's our talent, our intellect, our influence, as well as our funding. And so I hope that as you hear my partner in crime here, Ivan Quintero, he's our program officer in our arts education work, that you'll see us as a real partner of someone who wants to not only just invest the resources that we are stewards of, but also our time and our intellect and our influence. There are a lot of resources statewide, nationally, regionally, that can come into communities like St. Cloud. And so if you ever see an opportunity or we see an opportunity, we'd like to already have a relationship with you to help make that happen. So I'm going to invite Yvonne to present to you about a little bit more about who we are. But I personally wanted to thank you for your leadership and to know that we are really here to be your partners in helping you to achieve your goals as a city. So thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer, and I also echo the gratitude to be able to present to you all and really allow you guys to learn more about United Arts of Central Florida and how we can further support the incredible city that is St. Cloud. As Jennifer mentioned, enrich is a core part of our mission, and so part of that goes into the who we serve. You know, many people, they look at United Arts of Central Florida and they think artists, they think art and culture organization, and they're correct to think so. And we know that St. Cloud has artists, has arts and culture organizations. But you also have schools. You have community partners. Think the neighborhoods, think senior care facilities, think local businesses, healers, and so much more are eligible for funding through United Arts of Central Florida. All of these community partners are making enriching programs that not only benefit Central Florida, but specifically serve St. Cloud. And they're eligible for some of our funding. So how can they access that funding? Well, aside from funding, we also offer a few other programs as well. There's the award grants, which fuels creativity. I specifically, as the education program officer, I oversee the arts education. But our arts education goes beyond schools K through 12. We're looking at arts education from 0 to 100, enhancing that quality of life and really refining skills. There's collaborative funding to help our partner organizations also gain funds to further their missions. We also support through marketing and tourism. How can we use our resources, like Orlando Arts Magazine, like Orlando at Play, which I will describe later on, to further the impact that the organizations here at St. Cloud and the artists here in St. Cloud can do? We also pride ourselves in our advocacy. And so that would be resources also available to you. But I could speak nonstop about all the incredible things that United Arts can offer, but I want to focus the remainder of this presentation on access, because that seems to be the challenge overall. Yvonne, how do we get to these funded programs? How do we get to increase our impact? And it starts by going to unitedarts.cc. If anybody has a phone, they can go ahead and scan the QR code. It'll take you right there. If not, you can go directly to the website. And when you get there, you will see on the toolbar a drop-down menu that will take you to, hopefully, United Arts grants. Well, not hopefully, it will. Once you get there, you'll be able to identify what programs fit your organization. If you're an artist, where is it that you can see an opportunity? Key programs within our United Arts portfolio include the Operating Support Grant. Help us through this unrestricted fund, help you through the unrestricted funding to further those missions of your artists and your organizations. We have project grants for those organizations that aren't primarily arts and culture, but they're still providing a service. And we have a diversity grant as well. We also have the uaartsed.com. Now, this one is my pride and joy as the education program officer, so maybe I'm a bit biased. But this is where our educators, our community partners, our school teachers, our artists can connect. Through here, you'll have access to a whole directory of the arts programs that are available to our students. And we're thinking beyond field trips here. Think about how much of an impact puppets can have in learning math. The state scores don't lie. We can see it being improved through arts education. And this is how it starts, accessing the directory. In addition to UA grants and the UA Arts Education programs, we offer OrlandoAtPlay.com. Really is a key tool for many organizations and artists when it comes to their marketing strategies. We have an extensive reach, and we showcase not only artists, but also different arts and culture organizations, whether they're a current grantee or not, where they can highlight the events and the amazing things that they're doing, so that they can reach a wider audience and bring more momentum and visibility to the great work that they've been doing. Now, I would love to go on about arts education, but also United Arts, but I want to be respectful of everyone's time and let you know that if there's anything that we can provide to you as far as arts and culture and how we can further the community even more, we are available to you. Again, my name is Ivan Quintero with Jennifer Evans. Our contact information is up there, and we hope to collaborate soon with you. Thank you.
And we certainly look forward to working with United Arts and seeing the impact and the influence that they can certainly bring to life and the culture here in St. Cloud, because I believe the arts certainly enrich life in so many ways.
Thank you.
Councilmember Matheny.
Thank you. Yvonne, so, before I got on council, so it's been 5 years ago or so, Councilmember Askew down there had asked the city to take a portion of building funds, building permit funds to have art downtown. And we have not been able to get that program up and running yet. I think the way the city initially drafted the documents, I think it was like so many restrictions on when the money came to the arts fund that it never came that way. So I know staff is working to like revise that, but is that something you would be able to help staff come up with a program? Because that was the intent. I don't want to speak for Mr. Askew, but in my mind, when he said it, it was to bring the arts downtown and to have a funding source for us downtown. But we just haven't been able to get it off of the launch pad. So is that something you or one of your staff would be able to help us with?
So I want to say this, that absolutely collaboration is a key part of our mission, and it's something we work to do. As the education program officer, I don't fully know the specifics of what program would be the best fit for it, but I do know that we will come to the table, we will look for ways to collaborate and see how we can assist, support this initiative. Because this seems exactly what our mission is as well. It's to enrich this community.
Yeah.
So if currently there is not a specific program or designation that may be a perfect fit, we can at least work together to collaborate on that. We also have Jennifer here, who could probably speak more definitively.
And I will briefly just let you know that.
Step up to the mic, please.
Yes, thank you, sorry. That's exactly what we are here to help you do, is look at your resources. Not only say, if you bring $5,000 to the table, we will help you leverage that to find another $5,000 to create a street music program or a mural program or our artist residency program. So you can look at cities around the country that you want to emulate, bring that to us, or your own ideas. But we also can come to the table and help you leverage those dollars, however much they are, to also receive state funding, to compete for National Endowment for the Arts funding. There are a lot of ways that we can double that money, but also have some quick returns on investment so that your residents and your businesses and your visitors can see that money going to good use.
Yeah, I would love that. I don't know if we need all the council to say, yes, please work with the city manager on that. We got 3 at least.
We're good, absolutely.
But yeah, for example, I think Osceola Arts has been working with Downtown Kissimmee on a mural program, and I think they partner with funds. Some comes from the city of Kissimmee, some comes from Osceola or whatever. But it's like they've got beautiful murals going in, in Kissimmee. And so, of course, it's always like, why can't we get these
Well, and I think
kind
the
of
important
programs?
thing is that we can help you identify the local artists in your community that can do that, can work with you. My former position was in Spartanburg, South Carolina, 300,000 people countywide, 49,000 people in the city, and we used all the local musicians, 189 local musicians in the community, and we created a street music program where they actually performed to keep businesses open, to help restaurants and retailers, bring people into their shops. So what my hope is to align creative strategies also with your other strategies, because you can have something happening that doesn't really result in what your overall goals are. So we can sit down with you and look at that and make what's unique. I mean, your murals may not be the right fit for
Sure.
St. Cloud. It might be that it's another aspect. You have festivals already. You might need more. You might need less. But I think it's understanding the authentic character of your town that really makes you unique, and let's capitalize on that. But we would
Yeah, that's
love
great.
to help you. Absolutely.
I love the street music idea, and we just made an entertainment district.
There you go. There you go. And that, I'm going to tell you, we did, just to give you an idea, total annual budget was $35,000, and we had musicians from April till October, 4 nights a week from 5 to 7. And it increased traffic. And it engaged local musicians. We have artists in your community that want to make a living here, that want to stay here, keep their families here, but they can't do that without, having income. So this is another way to say we value artists in our community. So
That's awesome.
Thank you very much.
good answer.
We look forward to
Yvonne.
working
She
with
put
you.
on the spot. What other questions do you have for the both of us?
We thank you for your presentation.
Okay.
We're going to move
Thank
on
you.
at this time.
Thank you.
This time we have a presentation by James Kinney regarding Central Florida Human Trafficking Task Force, National Slavery and Human Trafficking Prevention Month. Welcome.
Hi, good evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. Thank you. And Councilmember Trace, thank you for the invitation, the opportunity to present. So yes, I'm James Kinney and I'm here. I have the honor to represent the Central Florida Human Trafficking Task Force. I am the Community Outreach Board member. We're here. The task force works within Osceola and Orange County to help lead investigative efforts on human trafficking in our counties and to help provide community outreach and education and provide support for victims and survivors of trafficking within the Central Florida. We are comprised of state and local law enforcement agencies, nonprofit leaders, and community advocates. We're here because this is Human Trafficking Prevention Month. In 2007, the U.S. Senate designated January 11th as National Day of Human Trafficking Awareness. And then starting in 2010, President Barack Obama expanded the day, declaring the month of January to be National Slavery and Human Trafficking Prevention Month, which culminates in National Freedom Day on February the 1st. Human trafficking involves the use of force, fraud, or coercion to obtain some type of labor or commercial sex act. It can also be known as modern-day slavery. There are two types, sex trafficking and labor trafficking. In our county, unfortunately, we do see both. We would like to say that's not true, but unfortunately, it is. Let's take a look at some myths. All human trafficking involves sex. Well, that's obviously not true. There are labor trafficking offenses as well. Commercial sex is human trafficking. Unfortunately, no. There are some people that can actually put themselves out there purposely to have sex for money. So that's not part of human trafficking because they're not forced into it. Human trafficking is always or usually a violent crime. Not necessarily. Some traffickers use the threat of force to keep their folks in line, and only undocumented foreign nationals get trafficked in the U.S. Again, very unfortunate, but not true. Many of our United States citizens and people in general right here in the community can be put into the game if someone's not careful. It could be a runaway or someone that's just not cared for enough in a family that may decide to run and get lost in the community. Labor trafficking is primarily a problem in developing countries. Unfortunately, no. Quite prevalent here in the United States. Only women and girls can be victims of sex trafficking. No, men and boys as well. If the trafficked person consented to be in the situation initially, then it cannot be human trafficking or against their will. Again, not true. It may start as a very consensual situation and then turn into trafficking afterwards. People being trafficked are physically unable to leave their situations, locked in or held against their will. Most trafficking situations, it's just that threat of force, the idea that they may not be able to leave, and then there are other things involved because the trafficker uses other ideas, drugs, alcohol, the idea that the trafficker, the victim has now performed some very terrible things and they're afraid of maybe going to jail or being told that now their family wouldn't want them. So they're afraid to run because they think there's nowhere else to go. It's a hidden crime where victims might be afraid to come forward, or we may not even recognize the signs even if it was happening right in front of us. Here's some statistics. I have to say that these are a little old because they have not updated anything from 2021, but these are 2020 numbers where across the state of Florida, this is from Polaris, which they run the National Human Trafficking Hotline. You can see at the top a total of 1,887 victims identified. And if you see the map of Florida, all of the red areas that run straight across Central Florida. So the high incidence in our area, it's not good. In 2019, Polaris worked on a total of 11,500 situations of trafficking, 22,326 individual survivors, and nearly 4,400 traffickers. It's notoriously underreported, so even if those numbers look bad, please understand that those numbers, it's probably not even close to what the real numbers are out there. And why is all this so important? Because it's a very costly industry. This is why it's out there. According to the International Labor Organization, $150 billion industry. And let me see if I can put that into perspective. This is billions of dollars, folks. Last week, there was the big rollover lottery that had rolled for months and months. And you saw that that one hadn't even hit $1 billion. And this is $150 billion. Human trafficking is so large because it's even more expansive than the drug industry. You see, I can get a kilo of cocaine and I can sell that and make a considerable amount of money. But once I sell it, it's gone. But I get 2 or 3 women and I can sell them tonight, tomorrow, the next day, and it's a continuing business. And that's what makes human trafficking so terrible. I know, sir, and I hate when I say those words because it feels horrible to even say it, but that's the dirty business of what human trafficking is. It's horrible. We're the number 3 state in our country. This is why we have to keep fighting for it so much. We have an event scheduled Saturday, the 22nd. This is to help bring awareness. We are doing a Red Sand Project event. This is something that goes on across the country. There's a company that started this, and it's a nonprofit organization to help spread the sand in the cracks of the sidewalks and bring attention to those victims and survivors. We're going to begin at 10 a.m. out in front of the courthouse in Kissimmee. We have a presentation. The state attorney is going to come out and speak. We'll have a few other speakers. We have a survivor that will speak. And then we'll do a little walk from there out to the lakefront, and we'll be able to spread some sand on the sidewalk. And we would love to have anyone that would like to come and be a part. We'd love to have you out there. Questions?
Thank you. Do we have any questions or comment from council?
Thank you again.
Well, this is certainly an incredible area that we certainly need to be more aware of and certainly more proactive in. Thank you so much for what you're doing, and we certainly look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Thanks.
Now we have a presentation by Alex Trauger and Megan McGinley regarding Metro Plan Orlando.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, council members. My name is Alex Trauger. I'm the manager of transportation planning for Metro Plan Orlando. We are the region's metropolitan planning organization. We set regional transportation priorities, and our board of directors oversees all federal and state funding that comes to the region. Councilmember Trace is actually a member of our municipal advisory committee and actually the chair of that and a member of the Metro Plan Orlando board. So we do regional planning work, but all regional plans are local plans at the impetus. So that's what we're really here to do today, is talk about a project. We are invited in by the city in Osceola County to conduct the 10th Street Corridor Study. We're calling it the 10th Street Study for lack of better words. I'm joined tonight by Jeff Arms, our principal engineer, and Megan McGinley Ferguson, just recently married, who is our project manager. She'll actually be presenting the information today, but I'm here in case we have any administrative questions, but I'll certainly leave the tough engineering questions to Megan and Jeff. So with that, I'll turn over to Megan, but pleasure to be here with you guys and look forward to the discussion.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alex, and thank you all members for having us here today and the opportunity to present on this study and share with you where we are and where we're going. So here's just a brief agenda. We're going to spend a short while on the up end, and then we're going to spend more time on the end where we're talking about potential improvements to 10th Street so we can gain your feedback and see if you approve of the direction that we're going or if you'd like any changes there. So what is the 10th Street study? We're looking at the entire length of the corridor from 192 all the way to Narcoossee. It ends up being about 4 miles. And the approach we're taking is what we call a complete street study approach. And this means that we're looking to improve the road and make sure that we can balance all users who are using the road, particularly prioritizing the safety of pedestrians and bicyclists while also making sure that traffic can still flow smoothly through the corridor. One thing we want to say up front is the approach for this study is not to take any new right-of-way. We would work within what's already out there, and there's no plans for taking any properties along the corridor or anything like that. So we're on an 18-month schedule, about a year in already, a year and change. We've been doing some upfront research about some background into the study area and some initial public outreach. Where we are right now is developing alternatives, and we would like to start drawing things up by the end of the summer. A little bit more detailed look at the schedule, which shows you some of our outreach touch points. Right now we're in kind of the third row where we're coordinating a lot with the agencies, and we've had a good opportunity to work with Aaron and Kevin at the city. So we're excited for that and to continue doing so. This is what we call our project visioning team, the different groups and stakeholders that we solicit input from. You'll see it's a pretty diverse group, and we have representation from Links on the transit side, as well as different city agencies, public utilities, and the county. Public involvement is a huge part of this study. We have a lot of different touch points with the citizens throughout the study. There are 4 specific outreach events, and we also have other methods of communication, which are through surveys. We did this survey last year in the summertime, asking people how they use 10th Street. Are you visiting businesses? Are you driving through? Are you doing both? And what do you see that could be improved on 10th Street? Some of the main feedback that we got is to reduce speeding, have a safe place to ride a bike, and close the gaps in a sidewalk. Right now there are some sidewalks, but it isn't easy to get throughout the entire length of 10th Street due to the gaps there. Sometimes you have to walk on the grass. And now we have a second survey that's currently open. This one is more geared toward the alternatives that we're presenting, and that we'll show you a little bit later. Generally, the feedback has been positive. We've also got some areas of improvement where citizens would like to see additional intersections looked at, which we'll continue to explore. These are 2 of the outreach events we've already conducted. We were at the monthly market back in November, a beautiful night. And just recently, this past Sunday, we were at this event called Ciclovia, where we got to join the group who's conducting a culinary bike tour through downtown St. Cloud. And with all that said, the upfront work we did, we developed some goals and objectives with the feedback we got. Improve safety, maintain the economic development of the region, maintain the small town charm and character of St. Cloud, that was a big one. And also improve health of people who are getting to use 10th Street. And just to touch on some of the background research we did, we have a larger study online that's about 50 pages or so, but I did want to highlight some of the key points because this data informs the solutions that we're presenting, as we want everything to be informed by the data and make sure that we're proposing solutions that are going to actually solve problems. This here is a crash map. The top map you see has numbered 1 through 7 for locations where people walking or on bicycles have been involved in crashes. The bottom one is an overall crash map, so it shows you people biking, people walking, but also motor vehicle crashes. The red points are the hot spots. We've identified a couple locations such as Columbia Ave on the west end, and we do notice that you all have put in a stop sign since we started this study. Michigan Avenue and Orange Avenue. So you'll start to see some of these intersection solutions for these locations later on in the presentation. We looked at the vehicle speeds on the corridor. This was collected by the city last year, and where we found the highest speeds were by 0.3 around Eastern and Mississippi, where the roadway starts to feel wider as you approach Narcoossee. There's a lot more green space, and it feels that vehicles can travel a little bit faster. So that's one location where we're going to be looking to reduce the speeds to make sure that it's safe for people to travel. The proposed speed limit for this entire corridor is 25 miles an hour. And we're also keeping in mind the trail and bike connections. We know there are some great ones around the city already, and we want to make sure that anything proposed for 10th Street can seamlessly integrate into those. The potential improvements, here's where we want to spend the most time. We have two different types of improvements. One is for the road of 10th Street and one is for the intersection. So first we'll go over the road improvements, which include sidewalks and everything to the left and the right of the road. We divided the corridor into these 5 areas that you see, and this is because they're all a little bit different. They have, you see in the downtown and the dark orange, that's where more of your businesses are or future businesses are going to be. And the other areas are more residential. This first segment, which we're calling the medical arts in blue and the historic grid is in orange, what's out there today is shown on the bottom left-hand side of your screen. A potential improvement is shown on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. The main improvement is you'll see a shared use path on the far right side of the screen, which would have enough room for 2 bicycles to pass side by side. You'll also notice that there's a sidewalk on the left side, which would continue the whole way and close those gaps that we got some feedback on that people would like to see covered. With the trail, there are some limitations. We know there are very large power poles on one side of the road. The trail may need to be narrowed in some of these locations, going from 10 feet to 8 feet, possibly to a sidewalk in some very constrained sections. But we're under the assumption that we would not move those power poles due to cost concern and constructability. Moving into what we're calling the historic core in this dark orange, it's very similar to the slide we just saw, except we're proposing parking in some of these areas. We do know there's a parking garage planned for downtown. This isn't intended to be a substitute, more of a supplement to that, as some businesses start growing outside of the main downtown core. And here there would be streetscape and lighting for people to be walking on the side of the road, see where they're going. The downtown core, we know there are current plans for this. They're in the 90% design phase. And we're not proposing anything new here on the right. This is what's already proposed. It's just a reminder that we do intend to make sure that anything new proposed for 10th Street will tie in nicely with this. And this last section is what we're calling the Suburban Transition as you get closer to Narcoossee. This is where there is the widest right-of-way. Prior to here, we had about 50 feet. This here is about 80 feet. So you'll notice that the trail and the sidewalk are a little bit further from the road. The further you can get people and bikes away, the safer they can be. Same solution here, although the trail shared use path may need to switch sides. We would prefer it to be on the north side where you could be along the subdivision walls and there are less driveway conflicts, so that when cars are coming out, there's less likely of a chance that they could hit a bicyclist or a pedestrian. And same thing here, you'd have a nice area for landscaping in between the road and the trail or sidewalk. And here's a potential intersection ideas that we have. We have a lot of ideas on this slide, so I'll kind of break them down one by one. And first I wanted to note why we selected certain intersections for improvements. That was based on the crash history, or if the intersection had a signal on 192. So those are locations where you get a lot of traffic coming in, and any traffic entering St. Cloud want to make sure it's at an appropriate speed and transitions into the area, keeping everyone safe. So starting on the right side of the screen, we'll talk about the mini roundabouts in that green area. Roundabouts have been proven to reduce injury severity if crashes do occur because cars are traveling at lower speeds. So instead of a T-bone crash potentially resulting in a very serious injury, it might just be a rear-end crash at 10 or 15 miles an hour. These are placed strategically at interim locations along that segment so that vehicles can maintain the same speed throughout. Next, what we have called painted or raised intersections. These are visual cues as drivers start to enter the downtown that this is a new area, and that there's going to be more activity to be aware of. Raised intersections are not speed bumps, but you could say they're similar and they're a speed bump through the entire intersection. So you go up on one end and then you come down on the other end. Painted intersections like you see on that image there. And pedestrian median refuges. We would like to include these at any location possible because it allows people to cross one side of the road at a time and be able to wait in that center area in case a car is coming from the other direction. It is going to be limited because of the tight space we have to work within, but that's something we would like to look at throughout the road. A rapid rectangular flashing beacons, that's proposed right across from the school location to improve safety. And the last location we have is Columbia, where the new four-way stop is. We had originally thought a traffic circle could work there, but if the city's happy with the four-way stop, again, these are just ideas and it's a starting point. All right, so that was what we had to share with you today, and here's a look at where we're going through the end of the study. We have 2 more outreach events, one being at the end of this month at the St. Cloud Monthly Market, and one being in April. And again, on that outreach schedule we had up front, we would like to continue having touch points with the city and with agencies to make sure that we can get consensus on this and make sure everyone's happy with what comes out of the study. Thank you, and we'll take any questions now.
Councilmember Matheny.
Thank you. I was actually going to ask you next steps, which I see your next steps for the study, but is there funding for design and construction?
So as it relates to kind of the next project development steps, we are in what's considered a planning study, concept development. If this were to go through, so there's a couple routes for funding. If it were to enter the federal or state funding route, we're looking at a little, some time, just given the amount of priorities and the finite amount of funds that we have. So this project is eligible for Metro Plan Orlando's federal funds for complete streets. I will say, though, if this project would enter that prioritized project list, it may be 10+ years to see that project to fruition. There is another funding program with federal funds. We call it our Off-System Construction Assistance Program. And that program's new. We just adopted it as part of our most recent 2045 plan. And what that does is it incentivizes municipalities to advance the preliminary phases, design, any environmental drainage work, and then this competitive program would then be eligible for a city to fund the construction of the project. And then, of course, there is, discretionary grant opportunities. I know those are just that, discretionary. And then there's the local funding option as well, whether that's county or city funded. So there's a few different paths. Each have their own set of, advantages and disadvantages and timelines. But there is the latter phases of this work are currently unfunded.
Okay, I just wanted to kind of point that out to council. Like, this is basically just an idea. This is an ideas, they're coming up with sections and things like that. So if this is something we want to move forward with, then we need to kind of talk about strategies to fund it. And in my experience, money comes to plans. So if we were going to do something, I would say, push forward the design, because when money does come available, money comes to plans. So that was my comment. Thanks.
Do we have any other comments or questions from council? Thank you very much. We certainly would like to move forward as quickly as we can with improving that part of our city for sure. Thank you.
Appreciate your time. Thank you for your comment.
We have one final presentation by Marjorie Craig regarding an update on our city water.
Good evening, Marjorie Craig, Environmental Utilities Director. And I brought my brain with me, Cameron, also. I did prepare about a 2-hour presentation for you on the update, but I was told that I only had about 5 minutes. So I'll keep it pretty short, but my passion for this, our passion, really, the department. So you'll recognize on the cover slide some of the graphics that you've seen over the last year and a half that I've been here, and that we've some of the work that we've done over the last number of years. So if somebody asks you, have we really done anything for the water? It's not, I'm not going to thank, you're going to be so grateful, I'm not going to read all of these bullets, too. Another grateful thing. We've done a lot. So this is just a list, just a summary list of all the things that we've done to make sure that we get the resin out of the water. 2020, we did some measuring, some metrics to show that there is improvement, that the resin is coming out of the water. 2021, this shows how much we've done on the ice pigging, line swabbing, unidirectional flushing. Let me go back. 2020, hired a new utilities director, just saying, and a new communications director as well. And as you know, in the past, we've not done a really great job at communication of what we've done. So we are constantly trying to improve that, and we are going to continue to try to always improve our communication as well. So the most recent thing that we've done is the unidirectional flushing, and contracted with that. And since the middle of November, we've done quite a bit of work. We've put together a very, very comprehensive, systematic cleaning program. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Cameron because he's really spearheaded this part of the cleaning program. Quickly, though, because I've been lectured.
Thank you, Marjorie. Good evening, City Council. Cameron Crandall, Deputy Director, Environmental Utilities. What you're seeing here is in the yellow area, that's the priority area we've established. This is, we worked with our engineering consultants. This is hydraulically significant. This is where we've seen a lot of the discolored water issues come in from the citizens. And this is where we're highlighting our endeavor to do the unidirectional flushing. This is the whole area, and this is what we're anticipating taking until April of this year to do the once through the priority area. So far, as of today, we've done up to zone 42. You'll see this is the yellow area here is the zones we've done from November 15th to today. Throughout the process, our contractors who are doing the unidirectional flushing, they've made us aware there are some significant areas of water discoloration we found. It's highlighted here, the 3 areas. And recently, as of last week, we went out and we checked these areas again. We had not found the color returns. So we were, this is very positive news for us. And we've also reached out to our consultant who did the hydraulic modeling, and we're trying to figure out why is this kind of a hot spot, because there's three close instances of color, and we're trying to figure out if this is hydraulically like a low spot, or is there something in the materials that are attracting the color to this area. As always, we're tracking our customer service contacts per week. This is up through the end of last year, December, and we're really seeing some very low consistent numbers associated with resin watercolor. And I'll bring it back to Marjorie now.
So where are we? Are we done yet? We want to be done. No, but we've accomplished much. What's next? We continue to plan, act, and evaluate. So we're going to finish this UDF, the unidirectional flushing program. We're half done, as Cameron showed you, with our target area. We're going to evaluate whether we need to conduct that unidirectional flushing program again in the target area. And then we're going to pause and assess the status and determine if we need to do it again or implement any other measures, any more ice pigging, any more line swabbing. We're going to continue to evaluate our customer service. We want to hear from you, from our customers, if you're having any watercolor issues. One of the things we did was meet with some of the customers that had some reoccurring issues. and it was really important. They gave us some really good ideas. We now have a dial 9 number on our customer service line, and we have signage out there. You know, everything, we'll take any suggestions, but it's so important. We can't solve the problem if we don't know about it. We also have a plumber on contract if someone does not want to hire their own plumber, if they're continuing to have problems. So with that, do you have any questions? And thank you very much. I know that Councilman Urban requested this presentation for an update. I appreciate the request.
Do we have any comments or questions by Councilman Urban?
I would just like to thank you guys for working so hard on this, and thank you for keeping the public updated. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Well, we certainly know you've kept this on the burner, and thank you so much for the progress that you've made. It looks like we are seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, thank God.
It's the most important thing we do.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you for your support.
The next item on our agenda is our Citizens Forum. Any person who desires to comment on any item not on the agenda is provided this opportunity to address the City Council. Each person is requested to complete signing form to be provided to the presiding officer prior to or as soon as is practical thereafter the person addresses the council. When you come forward, please state your name and address for the record, and we will ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. I do not have any requests at this point. Is anyone wanting to speak to the council? If not, we'll move on to our next item. The next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. This contains items that have been determined to be routine and non-controversial. If anyone in the audience wishes to address a particular item on the consent agenda, now is the opportunity for you to do so. Additionally, if staff or members of the City Council wish to speak on a consent item, they have the same opportunity. Councilmember Matheny.
I wanted to pull item number A for a separate vote.
Are there any other items from the council? If not, then we will go to item A.
Thank you. This agenda item is the one where Osceola County is asking us to waive our right to future annexation. The documents that were included in the agenda package, I don't feel were completely correct because it said that it was illegal for us to annex in the document. Well, it is at this time because the city limits aren't adjacent to this parcel. But for me, I didn't feel comfortable waiving future rights for whenever the city moves out into that area. Like, we have no idea what's going to happen at that time. We don't know. I mean, who would have predicted COVID, right? Like, who knows what's going to be going on? I just don't like waiving future rights. Just because the language is in the agreement, just like every other water and sewer agreement, doesn't mean we have to annex. You know, and that discussion could happen to me in the future when it's more appropriate.
Is there any other comment from council regarding item A? Mr. Manzares, do you speak to that item?
Well, yes, and I think the comment you're referring to is that, excuse me, the property isn't currently contiguous to the city, so it doesn't meet the legal requirements for.
That's not how it's written.
I know, but that's what the intent of that
Sure.
is. So, but this proponent, I believe this has come from essentially historically how the city has dealt with these properties that are owned and managed and perpetually owned by the county with regard to water and sewer service. And there are at least 2 county facilities that where water and sewer have been extended to them, and this annexation requirement has been part of the waiver. So that's where it comes from. It's historically how it's been done to accommodate the county in this instance, so.
Yeah, Miss Miller brought up, I didn't write it down, but when I brought this up in my agenda review, I think it's kind of a mixed bag, like some are, some aren't, like and I didn't write it down, so like she gave 3 or 4 examples and I think a couple were and a couple weren't. I just don't like the idea of waiving a future, a ability when we don't know what's coming down the pipe. Good
Ms.
evening.
Manzares, is that what this item does?
Yes, it waives that. As you know, any property that's not currently in the city that gets water and sewer has a requirement that there be an encumbrance in place to annex when it is legally capable of being annexed. In this case, they're asking that they be provided the water and sewer for this facility. However, that encumbrance requirement be waived.
Okay. Have any other discussion from council? Ms. Foliger, you want to speak to this?
Good evening. Just to clarify Deputy Mayor Matheny's comments, the Osceola County Sheriff's Office is not currently encumbered. The property appraiser tax collector is, because it was originally developed as a cash and carry. This property is currently along Parton Settlement Road at the edge of the joint planning agreement area, and that is why we did not object to it at this point. Just to clarify. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Would anyone in the audience like to speak to this? If not, you've asked for it to be voted on.
So
Would
I'll
you like
make
to
a motion to move forward with item number A, but put the language back to our typical language about the encumbrance in the future.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a second from Councilmember Askew. Would you please clarify what you're stating again so we all understand?
So I'm okay with moving forward with providing the water and sewer to the facility. I want to remove the language that prohibits annexation in the future and put the standard language that's in every other one of our water and sewer agreements in it.
Are we clear? Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Councilmember Trace,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Matheny,
Aye.
Councilmember Urban,
Aye.
Councilmember Askew,
Aye.
Mayor Blackwell.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Brings us back to the remaining part of our consent agenda. Would anyone in the audience like to speak to any item on the consent agenda? If not, could I entertain a motion for the adoption or discussion regarding the consent agenda?
Motion to approve items B through E and G through H of the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the approval of the remaining items on the consent agenda. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Deputy Mayor Matheny,
Aye.
Councilmember Urban,
Aye.
Councilmember Askew,
Aye.
Councilmember Trace.
Aye.
Mayor Blackwell.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
The next portion of our agenda is our public hearings. And Madam Clerk, will you read for us item number 1?
First reading and introduction for ordinance number 2022-01, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, providing for the zoning amendment of the zoning map of the land development codes of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, specifically changing the zoning classifications of approximately 0.92 acres identified as 1801 Delaware Avenue, located south of 17th Street, north of Reese Court, and east of on Delaware Avenue for planned unit development, PUD, to residential multifamily dwelling district, R3, zoning classifications on the official zoning map, filing of the planning recommendation and proof of publication, suburbility, and effective date.
Thank you, council members. Erin Stark, Transportation Manager. This first request before you is for 1801 Delaware Ave. It's a property that is 0.92 acres in size, and it's located south of 17th Street and north of Reese Course and east of Delaware Avenue. And the request is a zoning map amendment. A background on this property, it has the current future land use designation of medium-density residential, and it was annexed into the city with the planned unit development zoning designation. They're proposing the R3 multifamily dwelling designation, and staff has found it compatible with the surrounding area, and there are no adverse impacts on city facilities. This request meets the strategic plan goal intent for growth management. On November 29th, the DRC staff recommendation for approval for ordinance 2022-01 was issued. It was heard on December 21st, 2021 by the Planning Commission, and they also recommended approval, and the action requested from you today is to recommend approval of ordinance 2022-01. And do you have any questions for me?
Is the applicant here? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, council members. Jeremy Kibler, KDA Engineering, 2017 13th Street, St. Cloud, Florida 34769. Here representing the applicant and owner. Respectfully ask the council to consider both staff's recommendation as well as the Planning Commission's recommendation of approval. I would also like to note there are a couple of errors in the maps that you're seeing. The property directly to the south of this was also converted to the same medium-density residential future land use in the same R3 requested R3 zoning district. Ordinances 2018-60 and 2018-61. Here to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone in the audience like to speak to this item? If not, we'll have discussion and a motion by council. Councilmember Trace.
Mr. Kibler, how many driveways are you expecting on the main road?
I think at this point, the most could be nine independent driveways. What you could do is potentially couple those together. So it would be, call it 5. That's something that staff could do where the driveways were essentially maybe a foot or 2 feet apart from each other. Instead of being.
That's my concern, is it's a sea of driveways and
Sure.
pedestrian conflicts.
I think the look and feel would be very similar to what's there now, but what we could do something where, 2 adjacent properties were joined such that maybe there's only 2 to 3 feet separating the actual pavement or concrete driveway itself.
Okay, and then this, will this have to meet the parking code of the 4.5?
It would. Actually, the cool thing for you guys, I think, is that if we did not ask for this change, we'd have to meet because it was previously approved in the county as a planned development, we likely would not. The owner is actually requesting the change because it was involuntarily annexed. And so as it is, that we just want the flexibility of being able to do both single family and even maybe a cottage type of style development like the Dover Village project did to the south, which would be like a 2-unit townhome or a cottage style home.
Okay, and no chance that they would just connect to the neighborhood behind it?
We really can't because it's private. Yeah. I mean, we could certainly try to approach them and do that, but it's privately owned at this point. It's not publicly dedicated.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
We have any other questions or discussion? Do we have a motion? I move the adoption of this first reading of ordinance 2022-01. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second from Councilmember Trace. Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Urban?
Aye.
Councilmember Askew?
Aye.
Councilmember Trace?
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Matheny?
Aye.
Mayor Blackwell?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. I believe items 2, 3, and 4 need to be read concurrently.
First reading and introduction for ordinance number 2022-02, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, to annex into the City of St. Cloud approximately 42.45 acres identified as Tyson Reserve located north of K.C. Durham Road, east of Nora Tyson Road, and west of Chatsworth Circle in accordance with the voluntary annexation provision of Chapter 171.044 Florida statutes. First reading and introduction for ordinance number 2022-03, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, assigning a future land use designation of low-density residential to approximately 42.45 acres identified as Tyson Reserve, located north of Casey Durham Road, east of Nora Tyson Road, and west of Chatsworth Circle, providing for amending the official future land use map of the comprehensive plan, filing of the Planning Commission recommendation and proof of publication, applicability and effect, suburbility, copies on file, effective date. First reading and introduction for ordinance number 2022-04, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, assigning a zoning district of R-1B, single-family dwelling compatible with a low-density residential future land use designation change, adopted by ordinance number 2022-03 for approximately 42.45 acres identified as Tyson Reserve, located north of Casey Durham Road, east of Nora Tyson Road, and west of Chatsworth Circle, providing for entering the designation on the official zoning map, filing of the Planning Commission recommendation and proof of publication, suburbility, and effective date.
Thank you, Claudia. Aaron Stark, Transportation Manager. The case before you today, ordinance 2022-01, is a request by Tyson Reserve for 42.45 acres. It's a request for voluntary annexation. A little bit of background on it. It's contiguous and reasonably compact. The petition is signed by all property owners, and it's adjacent to the city limits on the east. The existing land use designation is low-density residential, and the existing county zoning designation is agricultural development and conservation. This request meets the strategic plan goals intent for growth management. And on or before October 7th, 2021, staff recommended approval for this item. The Planning Commission heard this again in December 21st, and recommended approval as well. And we'd ask that the City Council take action based on the 16 findings. Your staff report has the elaboration of staff's review of those findings of Ordinance 2022-02. The next request for the comprehensive plan amendment for the same project at the same location. The current, we just went over the land use designations, but we'll go into more detail here about what that will allow for. The current land use designation in the county is low-density residential. And while they're proposing the same land use designation in the city, the county's allowances are a little higher than the city's. The county allows between 3 to 8 dwelling units per acre, and this change into the city would reduce their entitlements to between 1 and 4 dwelling units per acre. It's compatible with the surrounding area, and there's no adverse impacts on city facilities. Of course, it meets the same goal of growth management, and staff reviewed this October 7th and recommended approval. The Planning Commission also recommended approval, and based on the 16 findings outlined in the staff report, we asked this for the City Council's action for approval of Ordinance 2022-03. And then the third companion zoning map amendment at the same location is a request for the R1B zoning designation, which is the single-family dwelling designation. It requires the 62.5-foot wide lots. It's compatible with the surrounding area, and there's no adverse impact on city facilities through our evaluation. It meets the same growth management strategic plan goal, and with the same dates of approval, October 7th for staff approval, December 21st, Planning Commission recommended approval, and based on the 16 findings, we would ask for the council's approval of Ordinance 2022-04, and I think the applicant is here as well.
Would the applicant like to speak?
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. I'm John Adams with R.J. Widden Associates, 316 Church Street, Kissimmee, representing the applicant. We are in agreement with staff's recommendation for all 3 applications, and I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Before we do that, is anyone in the audience like to speak to this item? Please step forward and state your name and address.
Hi, my name is Lisa. That's all right. Hi, I'm Lisa Klepper, and I'm at 1752 Up the Road, St. Cloud, Florida, 34769. I have a couple of questions. I'm obviously I'm concerned about this. There is a charter school on Nora Tyson. I don't know if any of us have learned a lesson from putting more developments right down the street from schools, but just throw that out there so you know that there is a charter school right on Nora Tyson. I'm not understanding why we just keep cramming so many homes together. We have it's such a beautiful area, and it's so beautiful out there. If you've been out there and looked at it, half-acre homes or 1 acre lots or half-acre lots would just be beautiful out there. I just don't understand why we cram so many together. I found it interesting that it used to be a conservation area. I don't really understand how we can just eliminate all of our conservation areas. Green space just keeps, going away. I'm also interested to know if, I get that if it was stayed in the county, that they could build more homes. But my question is, if we don't give them city water, do they want to build those more homes? Are they going to be able to put all those wells out there? So even though, we're going to let them build more homes if we keep it in the county, is that really what would happen? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Adams, would you like to speak to that?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Once again, for the record, John Adams, R.J. Woodman Associates. This property already has a low-density residential land use. It's part of the Narcoossee Community Overlay. We are here in front of the city because of your joint planning agreement. We're adjacent to the city limits, so we are voluntarily annexing in accordance with the JPA and transferring land use from one jurisdiction to the next, and then asking for an appropriate zoning district. We clearly are compatible with development to the east of us. We've got 50-foot lots in a PD to the east of us. We're requesting your 62.5-foot lot zoning district. We are clearly and are required by the JPA to implement those design standards of that Narcoossee Community Overlay. As far as not providing us water, we're in part of your service area. You're required to provide us water by Florida statute, as long as we comply with all the standards that you have here in the city. I'd be happy to answer any other questions if you'd like.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak to this item? Yes, sir, please. State your name and address.
My name is Ronald Hood. I live at 1758 RS Ranch Road, St. Cloud, Florida. We look at this as 42 acres, 1.3 or 1 to 4 houses per acre. Just do a little bit of math. That's about 682 cars that you're adding to Nora Tyson Road. On your agenda, you put that there's no cost involved. You're right. There's no cost involved for you to vote for this. Who's paying for that light? How are we getting people out of Nora Tyson Road? I'll tell you what you're going to end up doing. You're going to send them out Chadsworth to come out either at Chadsworth or over on the backside of my property to come out at Dumbleton, the street to nowhere, or it's actually my driveway. When that development was put in there, prior to that, nothing was allowed to be built there. It was wetland. So what did we do? We drained the wetland. We put the pond on the backside of my sister's property, right? And then we're going to put white opaque fences around a 12 continuous acre parcel of a family homestead. I mean, we moved here in 1976, and I could look out the front window at wetland. I can see turkeys, waterfowl, all kinds of animals cutting through that wetland. Now, we have to negotiate with the city to look at a white, opaque wall. That's my compromise. So, yes, this particular area is going to add traffic. They're going to have to find a way to cut through. Somebody's going to approve the road to cut through from Chatsworth, across, through Drew Liner, and back out to Dumbleton. And all you've done is taken that piece of property and completely separated from the reason it was there in the first place. So, think about that as you're approving these things. They're not singular. They're not standalone, right? Everybody wants them to connect because that's, good development management, but there's something in the middle when that connects, right? All right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else in the audience like to speak to this item? Mr. Adams, would you like to speak again?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. As far as traffic goes, traffic is anticipated and planned in the Narcoossee Community Overlay. It's anticipated and planned by your comprehensive plan and your land uses. Your code also requires a professional TIA, traffic impact analysis, to handle all of those roadway networking and all of the improvements that are necessary. That's all comes at a later process in the process here. Development is occurring. This is not 1976 anymore. My client has rights and entitlement granted to it by, in this case, the county with a comprehensive land use plan and the Narcoossee community, and by default through your JPA. They have those rights to develop the property. We are requesting a zoning district which is less intense than what we currently have at the county. Your staff will be reviewing a professional traffic impact analysis and identifying transportation improvements that are necessary. And with those transportation improvements, there's also mobility fees that will be paid by each individual home, each individual permit. So the development costs are governed by your rules and regulations. We just ask that you adhere to those rules, and be happy to answer any other questions you may have.
Thank you. This time we'll have discussion, questions, or motion by council. Councilmember Matheny.
Mr. Urban had his light first. I'm curious to hear what he has to say.
Yeah, I'm just concerned about the transportation issues in this particular area of the city. I know we've had a lot of issues on the Nova Road intersection, which this will indirectly affect, as well as Nora Tyson Road, which I don't believe is ready to well equipped to handle this type of development right now. And I know in our agenda review, Aaron had some explanation on that. Are you able to speak to that?
So John came through and represented this project at a pre-application meeting and kind of gave us some conceptual ideas of what they would like to do with it if they were to receive this zoning designation. In that examination, we reviewed the county's transportation maps, and on the east side of this property, there's a framework street planned or aligned on the maps. So this development would be obligated to dedicate right-of-way to bring that to fruition. To put that in context with some other surrounding recent development approvals. In the Center Lake Ranch project, there's a road called 12 Oaks Road, and they're building that to the north of Center Lake Ranch Boulevard. They have those plans in review now with the county, and this framework street is the southern extension of that. The county's maps show it kind of tying into the subdivision to the east, which was not brought to the fruition when that was planned. So they're working on realigning how that will tie in and provide connectivity to 192 to kind of create a parallel corridor to Narcoossee. So kind of that grid network, not only with the local roads that within the development they'll be obligated to provide, is being brought to fruition with framework streets as well. And of course, we'll study all those numbers of the traffic that this project will generate and then hold them responsible for the portion of the share that is their specific impact. And then, of course, the fees that they'll pay above and beyond what the improvements they'll make for their particular impact can be applied to the greater projects like the signal at Norwell Tyson if that comes to fruition. So we're on it with the data. They've been very proactive about meeting with the city and the county together in a collaborative meeting and identifying how that might work out. Of course, Lilly and Lee will carry some of this traffic as well, and I think the county has some plans for improvements to that road as well. So distributing those trips and making sure those roads are improved with the development is the plan.
Thank you.
Councilmember Matheny.
Thank you. So I'm not sure where the family homestead is in relation to the property boundaries, but Mr. Hood mentioned that they are getting a white PVC fence. Has that already been planned? And I'm asking. Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Do we have any other questions or discussion? Do we have a motion regarding ordinance number 2022-02?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion for adoption from Councilmember Askew. I'm not going blank. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Councilmember Trace. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Askew.
Aye.
Councilmember Trace.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Matheny.
Aye.
Councilmember Urban.
No.
Mayor Blackwell.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1.
Do we have a motion regarding ordinance number 2022-03? Could I entertain a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion from Councilmember Trace.
Second.
Have a second from Councilmember Askew. Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Trace.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Matheny.
Aye.
Councilmember Urban.
No.
Councilmember Askew.
Aye.
Mayor Blackwell.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1.
I make a motion for the adoption of ordinance number 2022-04. Could I have a second?
Second.
Have a second from Councilmember Askew. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Deputy Mayor Matheny.
Aye.
Councilmember Urban.
No.
Councilmember Askew.
Aye.
Councilmember Trace.
Aye.
Mayor Blackwell.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Adams. Brings us to item number 5, Madam Clerk.
First reading and introduction for ordinance number 2022-05, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, assigning a future land use designation of industrial to approximately 2.61 acres identified as Hickory Place Industrial, Lot 1, located south of US 192 and west of Hickory Tree Road, providing for amending the official future land use map of the comprehensive plan, filing of the Planning Commission recommendation and proof of publication, applicability and effect, severability, copies on file, and effective date.
Sorry, I jumped ahead on the slide. Hi, Erin Struck, Transportation Manager. This proposal is for Hickory Tree Industrial Lot 1. This is property 2.61 acres in size off of Hickory Tree Road. It's a small-scale comprehensive plan amendment as well. The background is that the future land use currently is commercial. The proposed future land use is industrial. My understanding is that they requested the commercial land use designation in 2007, and it's remained that way since. The development is compatible with the surrounding area, and staff report has identified that there's no adverse impact on the city facilities. Here's a comparison of their existing future land use designation and their proposed future land use designation, but the uses that they can do in each of these different future land use designations, they line up with totally different zoning categories. So this just regulates the maximum intensity of the land use designation. This meets the comprehensive plan goals of the future land use element for the analysis of vacant land. It's anticipated on the south side of 13th Street on the east side of the city. This request meets the strategic plan goals of growth management and economic development. And on September 9th, 2021, DRC and staff recommended approval of this ordinance. The Planning Commission recommended approval on December 21st. And our request is that the City Council approve ordinance 2022-05 in combination with the review of the 16 findings, and we'd ask to transmit this to the DEO for review and all state agencies. There's a zoning map amendment. Did you read that in as well earlier? Or? Claudia?
Number 6.
Yeah, they're companion items.
First reading and introduction for ordinance number 2022-05, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, assigning a zoning district of 1-2, Industrial 2, compatible with the industrial future land use designation change adopted by ordinance number 2022-05 for approximately 2.61 acres identified as Hickory Place Industrial Lot 1, located south of US 192 and west of Hickory Tree Road, providing for entering the designation of the official zoning map, filing of the Planning Commission recommendation and proof of publication, suburbility, and effective date.
Okay, so this is the companion zoning request for the same property at the same location, again, 2.61 acres in size. Currently, they have the HB, Highway Business zoning designation. They're requesting the I2, Industrial 2 zoning designation. They are compatible with the surrounding area, and there are no adverse impacts on city facilities. I'll add just a little bit to that compatibility. This project has access off of a shared entrance drive, and there's 2 other concrete plants in this area that are operating there that gain access from that same private drive. So when this was one property owner a long time ago, it was envisioned to come to fruition together. They changed the zoning to highway business in 2007, but they're requesting to go back to industrial. It meets the same growth management and economic development strategic plan goals. And September 9th, staff recommended approval of ordinance 2206. Planning Commission recommended approval in December 21st, and we'd ask for City Council's action for approval on 2022-06 based on the 16 findings.
Is the applicant here? Would like to speak to this? Please step forward. Please state your name and address for the record.
Randy Wright, 3321 West Shore Drive, St. Cloud, 34772.
You have a comment?
No, sir.
All right. Thank you very much. If you'll just stick around, in case there's some questions or need to be asked. Would anyone in the audience like to speak to this item? Either of these items? If not, we'll have discussion and our motion by council.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to adopt item ordinance number 2022-05.
We got some questions.
Oh, I'm sorry. Look at my questions here. Councilmember Trace.
So my question's on the zoning. The uses of I-2 are just one of those of, if we have no detail, I'm not the biggest fan of us having I-2 properties come in unless there's a specific use for it. I get the most complaints out of any zoning category on I-2 properties. Anywhere close to any residential, there's a whole multitude of things in the use table that create a lot of disruption and noise, and on the zoning side, I'm not really the biggest fan of I-2.
Councilmember Askew?
Bringing up the same thing, but I've got a question for Mr. Manzares. When the concrete plant went in, was there any stipulations about noise ordinance, backup beepy things on the back of trucks, things like that? I'm with Mr. Trace. I've gotten more complaints about industrial than I've gotten in just about anything else, especially with the noise and dust and stuff like that.
There's, as I recall, there's what's referred to as a performance standards agreement with regard to the operation of the plant that was approved a while back, and it does address issues like noise and the operation of the plant and timing of the operation. So that is in place.
Does that carry on with this particular piece of property, or is this is a fresh, clean piece of property?
That one was regarding the specific piece of property that it was related to, the original plant that was out there. So currently, it would not attach to this particular one, although there is an ability for the city manager to create performance standards, which was done in that place at that time.
Okay, I guess that's a question for council. Are we just leaving it as an open blank checkbook, or are we putting any type of stipulation on this particular one, which is even skirting closer to, well, it's about the same as the rest of them, but I just don't, lots of complaints with the concrete. I think they've worked through that through the years, but.
And if that's something that the council would like to consider, we certainly we can bring those back with you. This is first reading. If you want to do it that way, we can bring those back and for you and talk to you about and talk with the applicant about those also.
Okay.
That'd be amenable.
Yeah, that would.
That'd work for me. Other discussion?
I'll add that to my motion to approve,
Okay.
to work on those
Performance.
stipulations.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilmember Matheny, a second from Councilmember Askew with the specifications that we brought back with the second reading that were addressed here. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Urban?
Aye.
Councilmember Askew?
Aye.
Councilmember Trace?
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Matheny?
Aye.
Mayor Blackwell?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Do we have a motion or further discussion regarding ordinance number 2022-06? Could I have a motion? Mr. Sturgeon.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just want to take the opportunity to recognize Erin Stirk. All of those items, none of those were her items. She is the last person standing in planning that hasn't gotten ill. So I want to congratulate her on such a great presentation.
Move
So,
over.
Thank you, Erin.
Move over away from everyone.
No, I just impressed how she picked up the ball and ran with it and really seamlessly presented this tonight. So thank you, Erin.
Thank you. Could I entertain a motion for the adoption of this ordinance?
Motion to approve with the, I'll put that same stipulation in my motion.
We have the same stipulation added to this motion.
And I'll second it, but I'm, for the applicant to have the chance to go back and look at this, but I'm not a fan of I-2. So I don't want to give false hope that this first reading is an approval of I-2, but just look at it and discuss. So second.
Okay. We have a motion from Councilmember Matheny, a second from Councilmember Trace. Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Askew?
Aye.
Councilmember Trace?
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Matheny?
Aye.
Councilmember Urban?
Aye.
Mayor Blackwell?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thanks, sir. You got some homework. Okay. Item number 7, Madam Clerk.
First reading and introduction for ordinance number 2022-11, an ordinance of the City Council amending the City of St. Cloud Police Officers and Firefighters Retirement System adopted by ordinance number 2006-125 as subsequently amended, amending Section 6, benefits amounts and eligibility, amending Section 7, pre-retirement death, amending Section 10, optional forms of benefits, amending Section 16, minimum distribution of benefits, providing for codification, providing for severability of provisions, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
Good evening, Council. Mimi Tran, HR Director. For this ordinance, this relates to the St. Cloud Police Officers and Firefighters Retirement System Pension Plan. It's very similar to the ordinance that you adopted for the General Employees Pension Plan last year. The sections 6, 7, 10, and 16 that they're requesting to update relates to the Internal Revenue Code that changed, and it's for the required minimum distribution, changing from age 70 and a half to 72. There is no cost for this adoption of the ordinance, and staff does recommend approval. If anyone has any questions.
Would anyone in the audience like to speak to this item? If not, we'll have discussion and a motion by council.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Matheny, a second from Councilmember Urban. Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Trace?
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Matheny?
Aye.
Councilmember Urban?
Aye.
Councilmember Askew?
Aye.
Mayor Blackwell?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Brings us to item number 8, Madam Clerk.
First reading and introduction for ordinance number 2022-12, an ordinance of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, future amending the City of St. Cloud Police Officers and Firefighters Retirement System adopted by ordinance number 2006-125 as subsequently amended, amending Section 5, contributions, providing for codification, providing for severability of prohibitions, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
Mimi Tran, HR Director on the St. Cloud Police Officers and Firefighters Retirement System. Last year, Council approved an item relating to this for firefighters only. The firefighters only requested to decrease their years of credited service from 25 to 20 years. And in order to do that, they also needed to increase their contributions from 5.55% to 12.62%. Council had approved that date for an effective date of 10/1 of 2021. In processing those changes, staff realized that we did need to make changes effective on 10/9 of 2021, which would align with the St. Cloud payroll schedule. We are requesting for the effective date to change from 10/1 to 10/9 of 2021. The actuary did do an approximate amount that it would cost, and it was $6,500. And staff does recommend for approval on this item.
Would anyone in the audience like to speak to this item? If not, we'll have, please step forward, please. State your name and address for the record.
My name is Ron Hood. I live at 1758 RS Ranch Road. You're probably going to hear from me a little bit more often. This is one where I'm going to stand here and support. Anything we can do for the firefighters and our police, we should be doing.
Thank you very much. Would anyone else like to speak to this item? If not, we'll have discussion and/or motion by council. I'd like to move the adoption of item number 2022 oh, Ms. Matheny, I'm sorry. Didn't
Go
see
ahead.
your light.
Go ahead. I'm going to second you.
I'd like to move the adoption of item number 2022-12. We have a second from Councilmember Matheny.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Deputy Mayor Matheny?
Aye.
Councilmember Urban?
Aye.
Councilmember Askew?
Aye.
Councilmember Trace?
Aye.
Mayor Blackwell?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Brings us to council action. The first item has been pulled and will be brought back February the 24th. Brings us to item number 2. Madam Clerk, will you read that?
Sorry. Discussion and possible action regarding council's appointment to committees and boards of other entities.
Madam Clerk?
Yes, at the December meeting, the council reviewed all the boards and committees, and there was one motion that was made, however, there was a conflict, so we just asked that the TDC be reevaluated and somebody to attend that meeting.
Mayor, I would be happy to take another one of your boards. If you had one available, I could take. I know a lot of them are mayor related, since I can't take the TDC.
All right. I'll need to come back to the next council meeting. I wasn't. I'll take a look at what I got, so okay? So what do we need to do at this point?
Consider the option of that being, needing to be appointed. We can put it on next meeting so that you can come back and let us know. Unless there's someone that is willing to do that at this time.
When does the TDC meet?
They usually meet every month.
Yeah, it just doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't.
Right, and my computer just died on me.
Says schedule on website. So.
What day was that?
It just says schedule on website.
Oh. We can come back with more details on that.
Yeah, I mean, I would be willing to do it as long as it doesn't conflict with anything, but it doesn't have the schedule here.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd be happy to take another committee. I took that one to try to lighten the load for the mayor, and I'm not able to do it, so.
Okay. I'll take another look at another committee and let you lighten the load if I can. Okay. The problem with some of these, they're just, they want the mayor on some of them, so that's a challenge.
Right.
Councilmember Trace.
And then I have a question about item 1. Did we need to vote for that continuance to not
No,
re-advertise?
it wasn't advertised specifically, so it doesn't need to be. Continued. Thank you.
Anything else?
No, that's good. We just breezed on by it, so I didn't have a chance to ask.
All right. Then we'll move on to the city attorney, Mr. Manzares.
I do not have anything, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Mr. Sturgeon.
Yes, Mayor, I have a mission-critical request. If you recall, several years ago, council directed me to put a policy in place. If somebody leaves the city, they have to wait a year before they can return. My water line superintendent has reached 30 years and he retired. I am in a critical situation to try to get somebody to fill that position, and I'm going to request I can bring him back on a contract, 6-month contract, till we can work through the Toho Water Initiative, and I want to see if you had any objection to that.
I don't object.
Does anyone object? Are there any concerns? I think you have a consensus.
Thank you very much, council. That's it. Thank you. Have a
All
nice
right.
evening.
Councilmember Urban.
I don't have anything, just like to wish everyone a happy new year, and that's it for me.
Councilmember Thiene.
Okay, everybody, don't fall out of your chair. I don't really have anything. Except to remind the city manager to work on that, whatever we're going to do to give Robert Bass the kudos, because, I mean, we're getting further and further away from the parade, so want to maybe have it at the next meeting. That would be great.
Got it.
Councilmember Askew.
This is kind of a question, what Bill and I have been going back and forth, some of the bricks on the road there, and I know we're moving forward with the project, and I just really want to make sure that whatever underlayment we're putting down, that we're putting down the right stuff, because I think some people blame it on the historical bricks and some people are not, but I don't see bricks moving in Kissimmee, but I just see them a lot, and I really don't want to do it over again. So whatever we have to do, whatever engineering needs to be done. I mean, I totally trust in our staff and stuff. I just think we're missing something that it failed that quick. I mean, not totally failed, but can I throw a suggestion out?
Please, and then
Maybe,
if I could respond.
You know, when I work on New York Avenue, and when those giant trucks come down the road and everything rattles in my shop, maybe we don't allow giant semi full of stuff go down this historical brick road. I don't know how that's going to work because our alleys aren't too much better. So I don't know what the answer is, but right now I don't see the big semi stopping. So, you know, I'm open to suggestions.
Right.
I just wanted to throw that out there.
Mayor, may I respond?
Yes, you may.
Well, first off, like I said, the project was bid with the pavers instead of the historic brick. I've asked Mr. Edwards to go ahead and evaluate those. You know, he was here when that went out to bid. He's going to reevaluate that. We've been talking about it, and want to make sure we do that. And like I said, it's personal to me now. My wife almost face planted in New York New Year's Eve, so he got a phone call Monday morning. But we're going to look at it and make sure that, you know, we don't do it on the cheap, that we have the right underlayment, that make sure we have the right structures in there. The second part of that is we're in the process of hiring a contractor that's going to keep that maintenance up. I drove down it today. It's getting pretty bad again. So we're actually going to address that in the next month or so, as soon as I get somebody on board.
Yeah, I mean, there's asphalt patch right in front of City Hall in the bricks.
That's it for me, Mayor. Thank you.
Councilmember Trace.
Thank you. Hope everyone had a safe Christmas, Kwanzaa, New Year, everything. And looking forward to a great 2022 for everyone.
Thank you. I have 2 thank yous from the Education Foundation. Says, thank you for your generous gifts towards 2021 Rising Thunder and the Gott College grant. Your commitment to helping the students of Osceola County is greatly appreciated. We value and appreciate you. And then another thank you, many thanks for your birdie sponsorship at the annual Larry Goodwin Golf Tournament. The $2,500 will go a long way to help students. And just want to say, express those thank yous from the Education Foundation. With that, I don't have anything else. Brings us to our information section, report section. Thursday, January the 20th, there will be a city council workshop at 3 p.m. here at City Hall Council Chambers. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, January 21, 22, 23. The Institute of Elected Officials will be available at St. Augustine. Thursday, January 27th, there will be a city council meeting at 6:30 p.m. also here in council chambers. We issued a proclamation in recognition of National Certified Registered Nurse Anesthetist Week. And available for your review are warrant list number 3. The Recreation Advisory Committee minutes of July 2021 have been approved and are available. Tree Advisory Committee meeting minutes are available for August 2021. They have also been approved. With that, there's nothing else on our agenda, or I just got to... Oh, yes. We have a new chief. Would you like to formally introduce our
Yes,
chief?
I would. Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to have Doug Gerke come to the podium, please. Thank you for that. I'd like to introduce council to our new police chief, Doug Gerke.
Good evening, council members. Doug Gerke, new St. Cloud Police Chief. Very, very honored and blessed to be here, and looking forward to working with each one of you and the amazing citizens of St. Cloud. I've had a chance to meet with several of them already, and just looking forward to hitting the ground running on February 1st. But I've been here in a voluntary capacity, and I'm truly enjoying it.
Well, we are certainly delighted to have you here, and all I've heard thus far, nothing but good accolades, and both from people inside the department and people from outside.
Thanks.
So it's such a joy to have you here, and look forward to the impact that you're going to have on our city and with our departments.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
And with that, we are adjourned.